I'm Mark Golub, coming to you live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time from our JBS studios in the heart of Times Square, New York, with a breaking news update. American Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota today went on record suggesting that Israel is not a democracy and arguing against American foreign aid to Israel. Here is the Congresswoman's statement.
Fortunately, we in the United States have a constructive role to play. We give Israel more than $3 million in aid every year. This is predicated on their being an important ally in the region and the only democracy in the Middle East. But denying visit to duly elected members of Congress is not consistent with being an ally, and denying millions of people freedom of movement or expression or self-determination is not consistent with being a democracy. We must be asking, as Israel's ally, the Netanyahu government stop the expansion of settlements on Palestinian land and ensure full rights for Palestinians if we are to give them aid. We cannot let Trump and Netanyahu succeed in hiding the cruel reality of the occupation from us. So I call on all of you to go. The occupation is real. Barring members of Congress from seeing it does not make it go away. We must end it together.
Congresswoman Omar says foreign aid to Israel is predicated on their being an important ally in the region. And then she does quotation marks around Israeli democracy, the only democracy in the region. Is there any question that Israel is the only functioning democracy in the entire Middle East? That she says Israel denies a visit to duly elected members of Congress, and that's not consistent with being an ally. And she claims that Israel is denying millions of people freedom of movement or expression of self-determination, and that's not being consistent with a democracy. Now, is the representative correct? Is there any factual basis for her verbal assault on Israel? You know, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer labeled Israel's decision outrageous when Israel decided to ban Representative Omar and Representative Rashida Tlaib, stopping them from entering the country because they are public supporters of BDS, the single most immoral political movement on the planet Earth today, dedicated to the eradication of a nation-state of the United Nations. Think of that. BDS is not seeking justice for Palestinians on the West Ridge or in Gaza. BDS is seeking justice from the river to the sea, meaning all the state of Israel. Tlaib and Omar plan to visit Palestine, not Israel. BDS is nothing less than an attempt to wipe the state of Israel off the map. What's outrageous is for any member of the United States Congress to support BDS. This is what Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are supporting, and every American should be calling on Steny Hoyer and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and every member of the United States Congress to stand up and tell the truth, that it is outrageous for any member of Congress to support BDS or to bash and lie about Israel. And it's equally outrageous for Representative Omar to suggest that Israel is not a real democracy or that it's unworthy of receiving U.S. foreign aid. You know, there's a great deal of concern about anti-Semitism in America today. What the Jewish community should really be concerned about, what all America should be concerned about, is anti-Semitism in Congress, and any one of you watching JBS, you care about the well-being of Israel, if you care about American Jewry, you should be incensed by Representative Omar's comments and profoundly disappointed, if not outraged, that there is no universal condemnation of her remarks by every member of Congress. By the way, here is a list of members of Congress JBS called today for comment. Look at all these names. We called every one of these people's offices, including Joe Biden, former vice president, who's running for his party's nomination. We contacted every one of these offices. Not one would answer JBS. I hope you watching JBS right now will call or email or write your representatives, House and Senate, urging them to make a public statement in support of Israeli democracy and in support of the magnificence of the U.S.-Israeli alliance, which includes U.S. foreign aid to America's strongest ally in the world. And everyone should understand this is not a Jewish issue. This is an American issue. It has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. Whether you like or hate Donald Trump, whether you're a fan of Benjamin Netanyahu or not. This is a bedrock American issue. Support for the U.S.-Israeli alliance. So I want you to hear from non-Jews on the American scene. And I'm very honored to have on our JBS phones right now from Miami, Dr. William Devlin, a leading pastor in the American Christian community who serves Infinity Church in the Bronx, New York, who's traveled to the Middle East, to Gaza, knows the Middle East very well. And Dr. Devlin, thank you so much for joining us on JBS.
For having me on, Rabbi. And it is outrageous that these two sitting members of Congress are condemning Israel, supporting BDS. I'm a volunteer on the U.S. State Department International Religious Freedom Committee with Ambassador Sam Brownback, and we appreciate the fact that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. It's the only place where all faiths and or non-faiths can worship freely. They have mosques all over Israel. And I've also been to Gaza about 25 times, where there is a nascent Christian community that is 2,000 years old, and 1,000 of them, and I support them. But it's outrageous that Representative Golub and Representative Ilhan have made these statements, putting democracy in quotes. I don't know what history books they've been reading. I don't know how much interaction they've had with the Jewish community. But it is outrageous that they are leaders in the BDS movement. Mm-hmm. I mean, why would Israel grant permission to a member of Hezbollah or Hamas to visit Israel? They're for the destruction of Israel, Hamas and Hezbollah. Likewise, why would they issue an invitation and grant an invitation, which with Representative Tlaib, this year grandmother, eventually happened? But, Rabbi, this was all a ruse. We knew from the beginning that these two anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-Jewish Congress people, it was all a setup. We knew from the very beginning that they would use this as an opportunity to denounce Israel, the Jewish people, and the only democracy in the Middle East. I'd like to have them see them play this game with Saudi Arabia or Syria or Afghanistan. They couldn't get away with it.
Dr. Devlin.
Prime Minister Netanyahu and Israeli foreign minister did the right thing in denying them permission to go to Israel because of their stated beliefs and that they are against Israel. So I, as a leading pastor in the United States and a member of the New York Board of Rabbis Jewish Christian Roundtable with Rabbi Joseph Potasnik, all of us on the roundtable are standing with Israel, standing with Jewish people, and saying, this is outrageous that you put Israel is a democracy in quotes. Israel has been, it is a garden of human rights and of religious freedom. It's a paradise of human rights and religious freedom in the Middle East. Where else does Representative Golub and Ilhan find human rights? Maybe they should read the U.S. State Department report and the U.S. Committee on International Religious Freedom out of the U.S. Congress report. Maybe they should read those documents and see the absolute denial of the freedom to worship and human rights in every other Middle Eastern country.
Dr.
So I'm with you. I'm here in Miami, heading down to Cuba. I've been to Israel some 35 times, and I have been an ardent supporter of Israel and the Jewish people for some 35 years. As I said, been to Israel over 35 times. So I want to, as a evangelical Christian pastor, I stand with Israel. I stand with the Jewish people, and this is outrageous that these two Congress people are supporters of the boycott, divestiture, and sanction movement.
Dr. Devlin,
hats off to the Israeli Foreign Minister and Prime Minister Netanyahu for denying them permission to go to Israel.
Okay. Dr. Devlin, I am so grateful. I know you're about to get on a plane. You made time for us. I'm very appreciative. I hope one day we can speak in studio. But kol tuv hatzlacha, thank you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Shalom, shalom, Baruch Hashem. Thank you so much. Toda, God bless.
Thank you very much. And that again was Dr. William Devlin, and he is one of the major evangelical leaders. And he has a congregation, a church in the Bronx, New York. I'm also honored to speak with a leading member of the American Muslim community, Sheikh Musa Dramah, founder of the Muslim Media Corporation. Sheikh Dramah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
Sheikh Dramah, I want to know, when Representative Omar questions whether Israel is a democracy or not, you've been to Israel yourself many times. Do you question whether Israel is a democracy?
Well, the answer is Israel has one of the strongest democracies in the world, and when you go there, you can testify to it. However, Omar, may be speaking, for different audience with different experience and different parts of what we know as the state of Israel, which is very democratic. As a matter of fact, when I was there, they just had one of the biggest LGBTQ parade, which is unheard of in the region. So I can testify to Israel being a democratic nation.
Many people are reluctant to criticize Representative Omar and Representative Tlaib because they're part of the Muslim community, and there's a feeling that we should be as understanding of their perspective as possible. We should be sensitive to the things that they're trying to point out and trying to move the nation in a just and righteous fashion. And so there's a tendency to, on the one hand, give them the benefit of the doubt. At the same time, it is so troubling to many of us. And it's not about simply being Jewish. It's about what American values are. And here I'm speaking now to somebody who is intimate with the Muslim community. So I'm asking you, as a Muslim activist, as a Muslim leader, what would you say to Representative Omar or Representative Tlaib when they really bash Israel and support Imam Dramah, they support BDS, a movement that is trying to eradicate Israel from the face of the earth? What would you say to them?
Well, let me separate the two issues. The first one is, being the, among the first Muslim, representatives in the United States should really put them in the same, arena with the Jewish constituency, because the reality is that, we have common enemies and we have common struggle and we share common faith. And there is absolutely no difference to those people who are anti-Semite, and they're also Islamophobe. So to them, we're the same group, we're the same people, and we're the same enemy. Therefore, I would have hoped that, this would have been the best, the closest relationship that, we would experience having Muslim representatives, understanding that, they and the Jewish community, share the same faith. So that's number one. In terms of the BDS supporting, not supporting, that is a tactic. And for me, I'm not into justifying or condemning a tactic. Both sides on the coin are using tactics that some approve, some don't. But all I know is that I would rather see two of them knowing that, Muslims and Jews have the same enemies and therefore should work closer instead of working against each other.
Sheikh Dramah, I find the statements by Congresswoman Omar today to be absolutely outrageous. Do you share my sentiment, or do you see it another way?
Unfortunately, I did not listen to it, but I don't need to listen to anything. All I know is that Israel is a nation that is democratic and that is divine, and that can be found in our own Quran. And in our own Quran, Allah is saying the Holy Land is a place where Allah, gives to the people of Moses. And today, in 2019, the people of Moses to us means the Jewish people who follow Judaism, people who follow Torah. And for that, I am a supporter of Israel, and I'm a supporter of independent state of Israel. I'm a supporter of a Jewish state of Israel, safe and secure. And I hope that, my fellow Muslims, whether in Congress or in business or in academia, will see the need for us to work closer together as a people with so much in common and not be divided by that which should not divide us. Israel is a state that is here to stay, and it is the only home, for the Jewry, and it is the only place that all Muslims, in my opinion, should welcome, especially, with the, all the benefits that can be derived by having close relations with the state of Israel for the Muslim world. That alone should be, enough of a reason for us to embrace the state of Israel.
Sheikh Dramah, I am most grateful for your giving us some time. As I said a moment ago to Pastor Devlin, I'd love one day to sit with you in studio. But thank you so much. Kol tu b'hatzlacha. We will talk again soon. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, and God bless.
Be well. All right, we've spoken to two members outside the Jewish community. I want to speak to one inside. He is perhaps the leading advocate defending the state of Israel on the planet Earth. He's Alan Dershowitz, Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School. Alan, thank you so much for giving us a moment.
Well, thank you. You say I'm an advocate for Israel. I have a new book coming out next week called Defending Israel, the story of my relationship with my most challenging client.
Ooh, I can't wait to have you in studio, Alan.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that. And
What's your reaction?
Challenges.
What's your reaction to Representative Omar's questioning Israeli democracy and questioning whether the U.S. should continue to give foreign aid to Israel?
Well, she is a disgrace to America. She is a disgrace to Islam. She's a disgrace to women. She's a disgrace. She is a bigot. and nobody should take her at all seriously. It is shocking that the good people of her district elected her, I hope perhaps for the last time. She demeans Congress and demeans the United States by statements she's made. This may not be even the worst among the statements that she's made over time. It's just horrible. Israel had the perfect right legally and by human rights law to exclude her. Now, did they do a smart thing by excluding her? That's a different question. But they had an absolute right to do it. Britain excludes people who threaten their security. France does. Virtually every European country does. Every country has the right to control who comes into their borders. I think it would have been smarter had Prime Minister Netanyahu said, look, we have a tradition in this country. We welcome guests who disagree with us or agree with us, but they all start their trip at Yad Vashem. They all start their trip by commemorating the valor and the victimization of 6 million Jews, and we expect you to make your first visit to the Holocaust Museum and show your respect for the victims of the Holocaust. Then we expect you to go to Sderot and see the vulnerability of the people to Hamas rockets. And then we expect you as an American congressperson to go to the Golan and see why the President of the United States legitimated the annexation of the Golan by Israel. Then you go wherever you want to go. At that point, probably the two members of Congress would have said, no, don't tell us where to go. And they wouldn't have gone to Yad Vashem. They wouldn't have gone to the Holocaust Museum. And then they would have lost in the court of public opinion. But this way, they became the victims. They became the people who were oppressed. The cartoons appear with, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu's hands over their mouths, an anti-Semitic cartoon done by an anti-Semite named Latuf, who came in second in the Holocaust denial cartoon contest, and they were circulating the cartoon by Latuf. Latuf did a cartoon of me once also. And bigots get in bed with bigots, and that's what happens here. And so, Israel should have won this public relations battle, and instead I think they have, at the very best, they've tied, and perhaps they've lost. And, Israel has to be smarter in how they handle things.
All right,
like
I have
this.
one more question for you.
Sure.
You and I could have an interesting discussion on the issue: should they have allowed Tlaib and Omar in or not? My concern right now is that a sitting member of Congress has questioned Israel's democracy, has questioned U.S. foreign aid, and has also suggested that Israel is basically preventing Palestinians from every form of intrinsically valid self-expression. And we have not heard, Alan, any member of Congress express a sense of outrage, has not said to Representative Omar, you are factually wrong, and I want to know your best instincts. Why have we not heard from members of Congress, both parties, just come out in outrage against those remarks?
Well, they should, and I would expect that over time maybe they will. But right now they have postured themselves as the victims. And members of Congress want to get behind, for the most part, other members of Congress that have been allegedly victimized. That's why I think it was tactically a mistake that Israel had the right to do it. But I think the time has come to take on the false accusations, also the accusation of apartheid. I fought against apartheid. Along with Irwin Cutler, we represented Nelson Mandela. We know what apartheid is. I was banned from South Africa, invited to make a graduation speech at Wits University, but banned because it would be an anti-apartheid speech. So I understand apartheid, and for this ignoramus to compare what Israel does to apartheid, or even worse, has to be exposed. And I agree with you. I think pressure should be put on members of Congress on both parties to condemn. And perhaps even a sense of the Congress resolution should be offered condemning calling Israel anything other than a democracy and a place where Arabs and Muslims and Palestinians have more rights than in any other country in the world, including on the West Bank, including including in Gaza. The Israeli Arabs have more rights, and even the Palestinians who live in the West Bank have more rights than Palestinians who live in Qatar or the United Emirates or other parts of the world. So truth has a virtue, too, and you have to be able to put the truth forward. And it's very important to dispute what these people said. You did it, and you did a good job.
Yes.
And I think now members of Congress have to do it.
It is always wonderful to share a moment with you, Alan. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward now to the publication of your new book.
Thank you so much.
You be well. Thank you. Alan Dershowitz, again, everybody knows who he is, and there's no one on the American scene who better represents the state of Israel. Look, you heard Alan say, there's a virtue to truth. This is very upsetting to me. It's time for Americans, Democrat, Republican, to refuse to stand idly by while vicious anti-Semitic lies are told about the state of Israel. And there are good people who simply don't know enough when it comes to Israel. They don't know that it's not true. They may actually believe Representative Omar and Representative Tlaib, believe that they're telling the truth. They are not. Americans, Jew and non-Jew, Americans must speak out against the lies. And one more thing. The Jewish community has a passion for justice for everyone, justice for the other. And we hold Israel to a higher standard than we would to other political states. We just do. And there's something noble in that orientation. But however much Jews may want Israel to improve, no matter what criticisms American Jews may have on Israel, about Israel, there's nothing noble in blanket condemnation of Israeli policy without nuance or historical context. It's just inappropriate to bash Israel because one doesn't like the current prime minister or the American president. At the moment, Jews must tell the truth about Israel. And the truth is simply, Israel is at war with a people who are trying to murder every single one of its population and to destroy it entirely. And the truth is, Israel is an exemplary bastion of morality, extending human dignity even to its enemies. And Israel would love to have peace with the Palestinians, but everyone knows if Israel laid down its arms today, there'd be no Israel tomorrow. If the Palestinians gave up their hatred of Israel today, there would be peace throughout the region tomorrow. And that's the truth. And that's the message that every member of Congress should be sharing with Representative Omar. And I want every one of us to be telling our representatives, this is the message that should come screaming out of the United States Congress in response to ludicrous is the best thing one could say about Representative Omar, about her remarks. Outrageous is more to the point. Special thanks on this breaking news update to Rabbi Joe Potasnik, who's a virtual VP of programming here at JBS, for helping us with this half hour. Thanks also to Sloan Copeland, Tisha Bader, Dara Golub, John McDevitt, Michael Paley, and to the producer of this edition of Breaking News, Carol Lilienthal. We will be following this issue as it continues. JBS will be speaking out against anyone who spreads lies, classic anti-Semitic canards and lies about the state of Israel. We will not let it stand. I'm Mark Golub. Be well, my friends.